I was asked to give a talk, and I said, I hate giving talks because I do it all day long for my job online, as a lot of you would probably know. And so I want to do something different. I like to make it as hard as I can on myself and my team and go, let's do something we haven't done before. And so we're going to do a game show today with lots of audience participation. So instead of me telling you about travels in Peru, where I normally just film it and show it to you guys, instead we're going to quiz you if you've ever actually watched our stuff. Kind of. There'll be lots of different games. We have Irene over here with lots of different prizes. So if you get the microphone and you answer correctly, you get to pick a prize from whatever she's got. Now she's got some things that have never been sold before. She's got things like hats, all kinds of stuff. So some stuff could be crazy collectible if you're into that. Some stuff you might just be like, why would you even do this? It's like, it's a prototype of an idea I had one night. Didn't say it was good. And there'll be lots of different games. So if you're not good at one, because some might not be your forte, well, maybe the next game is better. So we're gonna play last person standing. The way this is gonna work, I'm gonna have everybody stand up in a second, right? And I'm gonna ask questions. If you answer yes, that you have done this, you still stand. We're gonna get to a point where there's only one person standing and they win. So this one's pretty easy. You just have to go, yes, I have done that. No, I haven't done that. So, all right, anyone that wants to play, stand up. And now we're just gonna sit here for like an hour. No. All right, so the first thing, if you've watched an Aquarium Co-op video, stay standing. This is that person sat down. All right, we're going a little bit different route here. Stay standing, and I'm gonna eliminate like most of you right now, if you own a saltwater aquarium. We'll play more than one game, don't worry. We're making quick work of this. How many that are still standing went to our booth and got one of our free shirts? All right, eliminated only a couple, good. By the way, we're giving out free shirts at our booth. If you haven't picked one up yet, we're here all weekend. How many that are currently still standing that we know have watched our videos, have a saltwater tank? How many of you currently keep guppies? All right, we've got some varied aquarists still here in the center section. How many of you that are still left standing have someone in your family that also keeps fish? All of you, okay. I thought that might have gotten someone, all right. How many of you flew to Aquashella that are still standing? All right, down to 2. See if we can get down to the final golden goose. All right, we're gonna make this down, we're down to 2. Which one of you got into the hobby second? All right, he has to sit down then. Now we've got our winner. All right, we're gonna do that again. So if you wanna play again, stand up. Hopefully you'll stand for more than 20 seconds this time, right? This one I think, well, I hope it doesn't eliminate a lot of you, because it's really cool. How many of you that are standing right now have ever collected a native fish in Florida? You've actually gotten out in a river, something. Even I've done that, I don't even live here. Multiple times. All right, so we got some. How many of you, while collecting, have seen an alligator or a crocodile, which I have? That guy hasn't. Don't go with that guy, you're getting eaten. How many of you have bred any of the fish that you've collected? Keeping for pleasure, but not for breeding, okay. Those that are standing, how many of you have visited a fish farm here in Florida? You guys really gotta go to like Summerland. There's so many farms to go check out, and you just gotta wander up and be like, I'm nerdy, who owns this place? And they go, oh, I do. And then they ask you for money at the end, but it's still fun. So we're down to like 5-ish. How many of you that are currently standing keep fish in outdoor tubs? Well, now we know what your next new hobby is. You need to be doing that. You've got the perfect weather. How many of you that are still standing are currently subscribed to Aquarium Co-op? All right. How many of you drove less than 2 hours to get here? Both of you are close, okay. Of the people that are standing that I can see up front here, how many of you attended the ALA convention that was in Orlando like 4 months ago? Neither. Uh-oh. Okay. So both of you stand back up. We got to go to the tiebreaker question. Which one of you is wearing socks that aren't white? Is that no socks? Well, that's not white socks, and you don't have white socks on either? Oh my gosh. All right. Which one of you is subscribed to Tazawa Tank's channel? Sit down. We've got a winner. All right, we're going to move on to a different game because different people have different strengths. This guy up here has done everything apparently, and it's not a fair advantage to the rest of us. We're going to play Name That Tuna. We're going to show you a picture of a fish. You can raise your hand, and Zenzo will pick someone. And if you know the name of the fish, and you can go Latin or common name, either one, you will be a winner. All right, name that fish. I hate this fish, by the way.
That's a peacock gudgeon?
That is true.
That's correct.
Tell him what he's won. If you're lucky, you'll get one of these really cool Aquarium Co-op clocks that will also charge your phone and tell you what temperature it is in your fish room. Yeah. They're pretty sweet. I only ever made 40 of them, so they're like ultra, like I don't think Zenzo had one. A lot of people don't have one, even in my own team, so.
Cory,
we'll see. Yeah.
why do you hate the peacock gudgeon?
Because they harass other fish. Everyone else, like, they're so cuddly. And every time I sell them at the store, they end up getting returned. This thing's beating on other stuff. So what is in the circle? What are those called?
A mono shrimp.
That is an Amano shrimp, but what do you call
In the circle.
the legs in the circle? This is ultra shrimp nerdy.
Swimmerettes?
That is correct. Swimmerettes. It was kind of fun because I got to make the super nerdy one. So if they're like, I was like, yeah, people aren't gonna know what swimmerettes are. If it's easy, then someone else came up with it. All right. This one, if you have a fish room, you probably know this one. What is the common name for that size of aquarium?
20 gallon high.
20 gallon high.
That's correct. All right. I hope most of you can get this fish.
Some are easy.
Name this fish.
Right here.
Florida flagfish.
That is
Florida
correct. The
flagfish.
Florida flagfish.
Also called the American flagfish.
So if you look at this fish, the reason it gets its name, it kind of looks like it has the stars and then stripes. It's a pretty cool fish if you ever get a chance to breed it. Super good algae eaters. All right, what's the common name for Astronotus ocellatus? This is the part I hate the most. I have to say this.
Like a shell dweller? No. Okay.
Nope, not a shell dweller.
Oscar.
That is correct, the common Oscar. Yeah.
So you get educational as well as entertainment, right?
You'll never need to know that unless we play the game again. What plant is this? Let's try to get someone in the back. Because you're just being lazy, Zenzo.
Jungle val.
I'll accept it. Vallisneria or
Vallisneria.
jungle val. Correct. What fish? I'm only accepting
Galaxy
the
Rasbora?
German version. No, I'm just kidding. Anyone.
Galaxy Rasbora.
Galaxy Rasbora, I'll take it. Also,
And
celestial.
who can tell me what else it's called?
Okay.
Celestial Pearl Danio?
They're both winners. I only come here to give
gonna go to
stuff
this
away,
side.
so I just have to figure out more ways to give stuff away without feeling bad. You have to win it. What size aquarium is this?
All right. I saw a hand back here real quick.
55 gallon.
That is correct. How many people actually know that, or is this just like foreign to you? Like, I've memorized every aquarium size. Like, not only have I worked in stores, but just for my own fish room building, do I have enough inches to put this here? Name the plant.
Anubias.
That's correct. From the back, from downtown. All right, here's another one. You got to know what the common name is. Here it comes. Get your buzzers ready. What is Carassius auratus? That sounded like Jeopardy. I should be on the
I
show.
saw a timid hand right here.
The goldfish?
That's right.
All right.
You might have thought African cichlid, the auratus, but goldfish. I'll be interested if people can even pronounce this name, because it doesn't really have a common name. Maybe you'll teach me. What is this fish? I've kept many of them in my lifetime. I love
Right
this
here.
fish.
The flagfish.
Kind of. We need better.
It's a flagtail Procholotus.
That's it. Flagtail Procholotus. That's another level of nerdy. Not many people raised their hand on that one. That was like swimmerettes nerdy. All right, next up. What size aquarium?
I think this is a 29 gallon.
That's correct. You even said 29. Most people just go, it's a 30 gallon. It's actually a 29. Name this plant.
Java fern.
Java fern. Let's see. Yes, it's correct. This one's a funny one to say. I don't know if you guys know this word.
This plant needs some easy green, looks like.
It does need some easy green, yes. What is
Right.
that area called on a fish?
I'm watching the front.
That was your chance, front team.
Peduncle.
It is the peduncle. What size aquarium is this? You probably all own one of these.
10 gallon?
Yep. Yes, indeed. He's a standard 10 gallon. It's funny that everyone pretty much owns one of these, and then you travel outside the United States, and no one will own one. Like, this size only exists in America, pretty much. Kind of weird. Another one. What is this called?
All right, I got to pick someone else who hasn't picked yet.
You could go
Nope.
extra nerdy, and I'd probably count it too. So there's a couple answers I would.
The dorsal?
Nope.
Anal fin?
Nope.
This one's harder than I
fin.
thought. Yes, it is the caudal fin. I would have accepted fin ray also, just because the arrow points like specifically to a fin ray, but it is the caudal fin.
Getting some exercise.
All right, you should probably just put your hand up now, because I think everyone knows this one. What fish is this?
Here we go.
Zebra pleco?
It is a zebra pleco. Didn't even make you say the scientific name. All right, here we go. This one I'm going to pronounce just because it's hilarious and I can't pronounce it. What is a Parascheroni enizai?
All right, see a hand.
You all have probably kept this fish.
It's a neon tetra.
It is the neon tetra.
All right.
All right. This is my other nerdy one beside my swimmerette. This is my other level of nerd. What is that called? And I'm looking for the nerdy version.
All right, I see you in the back.
Operculum.
It is the operculum. Nice. Nerd. What size aquarium? Who's got it?
40 breeder?
That's right. What plant is this? This one might be a little bit hard.
Cryptocorn.
You got it. All right, what is that called? There's
Alright.
two names. There's one that I really want, but I'll accept two.
Nuchal hump?
Nuckle hump is correct.
It's not every day you get to say nuckle hump. All right, I'll just make up another question. What fish is that? Frontosa it is. What fish are these? Up front.
Cichlids.
They are cichlids, but what type of cichlids?
Hang on, I saw.
Next it'll be like, these are fish.
Pseudotrophes solosia.
Yep, Pseudotrophy solosi.
Is the correct
Who
answer.
can say what the other name is? Jindongo
He
is
got
correct.
it. Okay, you're not crazy then. There is
No,
another
not
person on
crazy.
this planet that knows that. So what's cool about these fish, if you've never kept them, is that the males are that blue striped fish. The females are the yellow. So you get all this color. It's super easy to sex them, and they look amazing. One of my favorite Africans to keep if you get a chance to keep them. All right, we're going to play a different game now. This one's probably going to require pen and paper or your phone. You're going to answer questions, and then based on how many prizes we have left, we will, however many points you accumulate, we'll say, hey, who's got 22 points? All right, you get prizes. Who's got 21 points? You get prizes. So some way to keep track.
Yeah, whether you're writing on your hand or making a note on your phone, just keep
And
tabs.
if anyone gets a perfect score, I'm going to call a liar. There's like no way that, maybe that guy. That guy's done everything, but aside from that guy. All right, have you ever had a SpongeBob decoration? Give yourself a point. Have you ever had a high-tech planet tank? CO2 injection, highlight. Next, give yourself a point if you've been in the hobby for less than a year. Next, if you've been in the hobby for more than 10 years, you can get a point. If you're in between 1 and 10, you're getting nothing. All right, next, you get a point if you only have one aquarium. Is that anybody here? Does anyone actually have one aquarium?
Show of hands if you only have one tank. All right, it's a dozen.
Next up, if you've got more than 10 tanks, you can also have a point. You got your first point, is that what I heard? Dang. Someone's got 10 tanks with SpongeBob in it, killing it right now. Next up, give yourself a point if you've ever owned goldfish. Have you ever kept guppies? How about a betta? Who's got more than 5? All right. Have you ever kept a pufferfish? Doesn't have to be freshwater. In fact, that's a brackish water one. We think less of you if they're not freshwater, but it still counts. How many of you have kept gobies? It doesn't have to be stiff-on gobies, or at least freshwater goby types like this, but gobies in general. Have you ever kept African cichlids? This guy's on a roll. He's up to 8. Who's kept saltwater fish? You get a point. Give yourself a point if you've ever bred more than 5 fish species. Give yourself a point if you're really old and you've bred more than 15 species of fish. You don't actually have to be old, but it takes a lot to do that. Give yourself a point if this is your first ever aquashella. Raise a hand. Who's their first aquashella? Wow, first time ever. Nice. Good to see new people. I also want to see hands on this next question because I think it might only be very few. Give yourself a point if you've been to 3 or more aquashellas. Anybody here been to 3 or more besides me? There's one in the back. That guy's a diehard. Give yourself a point. I'd ask for hands on this one, but be stroking my own ego. So just give yourself a point if you've ever shopped at aquariumcoop.com. This one, I know there's people here that have traveled quite far, so I could see some points. Have you ever visited our physical store? I see a hand back there. By the way, our store is getting 3 times bigger. It's under construction right now, so if you ever make the trip, and Murphy, if you watch him online, we have a 24/7 camera on him. His tank right now is 360 gallons. His new tank is 1,450 gallons. So it'll be 10 feet long, 6 feet front to back, and 40 inches tall. It's insane. We're actually worried about how to move it. That's the stand. We can't fit forklifts through the door, so we have to rent hydraulic lifts to pull it off. So hopefully it'll be done when we get back. It's at the powder coaters right now for the stand. So then we're also going to upgrade that and make it way cooler. So watch Murphy. He's adorable. All right. Give yourself a point if you plan on bringing home anything from Aquashella. Should have made it a purchase, but I guess it could be anything, like my shirt. All right, that is all the questions. Now I gotta see, I have no idea how many points people can have. Who has, let's start high. I don't even know if there's this many questions. Who's got 20 or more? Anyone with 20 or more? Any with 15 or more, stand up. We got one with 15. Is that just the one? If you have 14 or more, stand up. We got 2. We'll make sure that Irene spots the one in the back that's standing. Did you have a SpongeBob decoration? Nice. Never thought that was going to come in handy, did you? I actually haven't had one. I've set one up for my niece, but I haven't had one. All right, stand up if you had 13 or more. All right, a few more. Now, one of those hats that got given out is literally one of 2 ever. There are hat fanatics that would murder you for that hat. Who's got 12 or more? Okay, it's a lot, so I don't know if we have enough. You just have to make educated guesses. We should actually make it so they had to have a SpongeBob decoration. We have given away every prize we have, which means we're moving on. We're actually going to move on to a Q&A section. This is my favorite part. It's actually the only reason I show up. Zendo's going to bring you the mic. If you have a question you want asked, I will do my best to answer it as truthfully as possible.
All the way
What's
from
that?
Canada?
Oh yes, I am handsome. Yes, that's a true statement.
How do you get rid of or even prevent would be amazing aphids on top of your floating plants?
I don't know how to prevent them. The way I get rid of them is I use a glass top or something like that, and then I flood the tank until the water's touching it, and I let it sit there for like an hour, and it drowns those little guys. But they can kind of come back because some of them are smart enough to be like, I'm going to live on the rim, like a little bit above. But after flooding it a few times, that's how I can get rid of like 98%. But I don't know where they come from. I don't know why they're attracted to our aquariums. But I kind of just like having little creepy crawly things that my fish eat. So, and that's the thing, when you flood it and they die, the fishes gobble them up, so they get fish food. But I don't know any way to actually keep them out. What do we got in the back?
When are you going to release the CO2 regulator?
When are we going to release the CO2 regulator? Well, I think we've basically finalized it. So they're in production here, like China's basically waking back up from Chinese New Year and all that. We estimate mid-March. Mid-March is when we think we'll actually have it. Now that being said, there is always something that can delay that. There's always like, we're waiting on a different product, the boat is stuck at the port, there's all of these types of things. But yeah, I think pricing is pretty good, and we've been testing a while and we love it. So hopefully it won't make me go out of business.
All right, over here.
Hello. Do you have any tips for people who are bringing fish home on like an airplane or shipping? How do you transport fish as just a regular hobbyist? What's some best practices?
All right, so tips for bringing fish home on an airplane. So I myself have only done it illegally, so don't do that. I've only brought fish from another country back to here. I didn't actually break the law. I declared everything, and but typically you would get a permit and all that beforehand. Oops. Didn't know that. That's what happens when you listen to the Shrimp King. I do it all the time, and then they were not having it. But my best advice, honestly, I like to move fish in water bottles because it falls over, you know, you're sitting next to your person you're flying with, now it's like rolling around on the ground, your fish is just taking a tumble. I like these in a bag that kind of sit right below where you're gonna be, and they can't really get crushed. Now, you have to, I recommend printing out some paperwork and getting it through TSA. With a live fish in it, that's usually enough that they go, hey, it's a live fish, that means it's not a bomb. So usually you'll get to go through, but you will meet people every once in a while where they're not having too good of a day and they can't get a hold of their boss, and then your flight is leaving in 7 minutes from now and your stress level's through the roof. But I really like these. And the reason I don't like bags, if you've ever brought a bag of chips on the plane, you know how all of a sudden it's like ready to explode and then it's contracting. It's real easy to go, oh man, this thing's crumpled in. Hold on, let me fix that. Without having to like retie a bag on an airplane and your person you're flying with looking at you like you're an extra weirdo. You're like, they're my pet fish. I went to a fish convention, I'm bringing them home. The other thing that is nice about a water bottle, which obviously isn't gonna work for giant fish, but you can get like bigger smoothie bottles that have a bigger opening and that kind of stuff. What I also like is, you know, you kind of fill them halfway with water. You can also keep them at body temp. You kind of put them in your jacket. So if it's getting, you know, sometimes on the airplane it's wicked cold, at least for me. We were actually working on like a whole system to do this. We haven't launched it or anything yet, and I don't know if we ever will, but it was like a little backpack with the perfectly sized bottles that would fit. And you know, we don't ever sell like 8 of them ever, but Dean was using them to go back between California and home. All right, next question.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Can I get a whoop whoop from everybody? Back in August, I rescued 7 blood parrots, 3 Texas cichlids, 1 common pleco, and 1 firemouth, and they were 25 gallon. They obviously were abused throughout their to the point where they had nitrate poisoning, ammonia poisoning, they have gill curl, and they had fungus. And I managed to cure them of everything else, but the 3 of them had seems like permanent gill curl. Is there anything you could recommend me help them with the blood parrots?
Yeah, so she had some gill curl going on from usually like ammonia burn and things like that. In my experience, there's no way to revert that. You know, in high-end fish, if you were, you know, you had a $100,000 arowana that had gill curl going on, they would trim it, and then they would, you know, get it to heal up, and it still won't, like that operculum is still gonna look shorter than it should, but I haven't found a good way to actually reverse that. Usually, as long as there's not too much damage to their actual gills, they still live a normal functional life. They'll just be like my dogs. They're just extra derpy and I love them, and you know, just keep the water clean and know that adding extra oxygen and things like that to your aquarium, they're already a little bit, I guess, fish handicapped, so give them a leg up and make it easier on them.
What's a good everyday food for a leopard frog pleco?
I honestly, every day, pick an algae wafer that you like and feed it. I got to get on the plane, I'm throwing algae wafers, that's what I'm doing, feed them a lot. Feed them frozen bloodworms, a lot of them, that's how I spawn them. But if I'm really trying to spawn them, I've done it every day, but not everyone wants to do this every day, but Repashy I really like. It's a food, you have to boil water, you mix it, it's in a gel form, you can put way too much of it in there that leads to them spawning typically. You can mix other things in if you want, but it does take work, and your spouse usually hates you because it smells terrible when you're microwaving or boiling it. But the good news is it sets up exactly like Jell-O. And so if you have a little jar or a Tupperware of Jell-O, you just cut little squares out and you can feed it every day, but you gotta have like a fridge in your fish room or fairly close by. Like Dean, his closest, for as good as he is in his fish room, his closest fridge is on another floor of his house. So he has to take a trip, so he doesn't do any type of Repashy. He does tons and tons of frozen, but the quick and dirty, throw some wafers in, throw some frozen foods in, and that'll usually get them spawning, but if you really want bigger spawns and stuff like that, I recommend the Repashy.
All right, question here in the back.
What point would you say you have enough experience to consider opening a fish store?
Well, my advice has always been, go run someone else's fish store, which people usually go, they don't pay enough money, and then I counter with, well, you're not gonna make any money running your own fish store for quite a while, so if you can't make it on your $12 an hour from someone else, you really aren't gonna make it. But you get to see everything they do wrong. You get to see everything they do right. You get to meet who the vendors are. You get to know that this vendor has great neon tetras and this one sells you death. You learn all these things on someone else's money, which then gives you a chance so that you could be in person with someone and like, do they even like you? Are you good with people? Like over the years, we've had people that could breed any fish they wanted and they're really good with animals and everything like that, except they're not good with the animal they really need to be, and that's humans. They're terrible with other humans. Like they don't have patience, you get that elitism sometimes. And so you really got to be a good people person, because I feel like if you're not a good people person, you're not going to be able to run a successful store very long, because you need to teach your employees. So you can't just hire like, well, I hired lots of nice people and I'm Oscar the Grouch. Like usually employees will fall in line with what's above them. And so you end up not having the greatest store, working for someone else, learning what they're doing wrong, and then using all that information to go open your own store to compete against them, and knowing, okay, there's 7 stores in this area, one's like failing, the one's doing really well and the rest are doing mediocre. I'm going to open a store, and your whole goal is just not to be the one store that's failing. You just got to beat one of these to stay in business long enough to start climbing that ladder. Because some people will have way more money than you. Some will have more expertise than you. Some will have, oh, well, I signed this lease with the landlord 22 years ago, and it's $400 a month, and you won't be able to compete. There's always going to be unfair advantages everywhere you turn, but you need to start making advantages on yourself. Like I happen to get lucky on YouTube. I happen to work for another store. I happen to breed fish. I was part of the Greater Sale Aquarium Society. I use these little strengths to start building into bigger and bigger things. And at the beginning, there's no way to shortcut. A lot of people go, well, I got someone to give me $500,000. I'm starting a store. I've watched those fail even faster a lot of times than people that don't have nearly as much money, because they think that the money will carry them through. We'll carry every type of fish. We'll have the best looking aquariums. We'll carry all the supplies. And from owning a store, I go, and which employee knows all the fish and all the supplies and all the things? Like, we carry a limited amount so that our people can stay educated on what we do sell, instead of like, yeah, I don't know, that landed last week, it's light number 2697, it's $700, I hear it's great. And then they call you up like, yeah, the Bluetooth's not syncing. I didn't know it had Bluetooth. So you can't just buy your way through. It's good to have money, but money without the knowledge, you're gonna fail just like someone with lots of knowledge and no money. You need a mix of all these skills. The easiest way though, work for someone else, learn on their money, do a great job for them, because the better you do for them, the more money you make them, the more people you can order from, the more you're on a first name basis. And when you go, hey, wholesaler number 9, remember when I ordered $10,000 worth of fish from you every month? I now do my own thing, and now they will actually pick up the phone. If you were running their store into the ground because they're terrible, remember when I ordered $300 a month? And they're gonna say, I don't actually, and they're not gonna give you the time of day. So do the best you possibly can for your future competitor, knowing that you will be gaining everything. Your alternative would be, let's go to college. You can go to Portland. They teach ornamental fish keeping and things like that. You can learn diseases. You can do all of that. You have to go pay $50,000 to learn that, or you can let someone else pay you to learn that and then apply it firsthand. So when are you ready? When all of those things start coming together. Do you have some money set aside? Do you have probably a couple years working for someone else? Is there a great location? Is there a need? Are you sure that you're not just really wanting to do it? So many people open up a pet store that start out with, well, I have a whole fish room, I may as well sell. That's a lot different when you're there from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. and then you got to do the wholesale run and you got to do all of these things, and You could be like me, where you don't really know how accounting works, and so you get all the way at the end of the first year, and like, what do you mean I have to pay tax on everything I didn't sell? Like, I knew I was saving tax for everything I sold, but everything sitting in my store I didn't sell also has taxes. That was a great lesson to learn. I had to pay $20,000 in tax, and I had only paid myself $14,000 that year. So I started that year way in the hole. I never got to learn that from the business before me. They weren't very good at taxes or any of that kind of stuff at all. And so now I know, ooh, yeah, that was kind of a mess there. But I don't think I can tell you when you'll be ready. You kind of have to know. You have to take that leap of faith. You know, you could be like Alexa, who opened up during the pandemic, which I would have told you never do that. That seems like a terrible idea, and she's doing great. Or you could have opened and then the pandemic hits you, or you can get sick. Eventually, you got enough skills, you're going to take a leap, and you got a shot. And I've been very fortunate. My shot worked, and I've brought people along. I've watched lots of great people better than me not make it also. No, it's not just a formula and everyone's going to have success. There is a lot of unknown. Where are you doing it? How are you doing it? What people want to help you? You know, did you make too many angry customers on Yelp and all of that? And you'll be tested week in, week out, and you need a really strong partner too. And by that I mean a spouse, someone that can really be with you when the times are the hardest. When our tank exploded, right? Year 2 of the store, the original Hank tank, so our Mavu puffer, was 300 gallons. It blew a seam, and so it didn't just leak. It was that movie blow a seam. It blew a seam, moved the tank 3 feet off the wall, and sent a tidal wave through the store. So all the way in the back of the store, we had dead fish and sand. It flooded the tattoo parlor next to us and the other business next to that. And we almost went out of business because I had to buy dehumidifiers, I had to do repairs, I had to do all of these things. And at the time, I had gotten down to less than $1,000 in the bank account. And that doesn't go very far when you've got employees and all that. And we barely crawled back out of that. But no matter how good you would have been, or how much you knew and all that, you can't predict when a giant aquarium will just let go. Like, you can have a brand new one built tomorrow, and it shouldn't let go, but it did. And how much of a problem is it going to be for you? So there's always luck involved, at least somewhat, to any successful business. You can do a lot without the luck. But you still need that, the right time, the right place, met the right person, had the right mentality, had the right customers, all of that. So, all right, what do we got next?
Cory, how long have you been an aquarist, and what was your first fish?
The problem is I've been giving the same answer like 12 years for like 8 years now. So I think, honestly, let's see, it's 22. I probably started in it's probably like 17 or 18 years I've been keeping fish. And the first fish that I ever got was actually some hockey stick or penguin tetras, which I didn't want because I was the classic new hobbyist. My buddy had set me up, so I at least got plants and a canister filter, and I owned a python. I had the right tools, but like anybody, I wanted to start my aquarium today. And so he told me get 6 tetras. The store I went to, which is no longer in business anymore, was Jones & Company Pets, and they didn't have 6 of any one tetra at all in the entire store. So I got 5 of the penguin tetras, because that was the only one that they had 5 of. That's what started my tank. And then I got black mollies, they bred, and that's where I went insane. Without black mollies and them breeding, I would have never gotten to where I am today. Because I woke up one day, because the tank was in my bedroom, the mollies, they had babies, and my mind was blown, like, wait, we can make more of these things? Because I was like, but these things sell for money. And so it was my get-rich-quick scheme, because you guys wouldn't know it, but growing up, I used to breed rats and hamsters, and like, that's just my thing. I like to breed stuff. My mom never told me that we were getting 50 cents each when we traded them in, and they were all snake food. But I was making rats and hamsters, and I'd buy the bedding and buy the next toy and all of that. So I kind of always had this, well, if I breed a bunch of stuff, it kind of pays for this thing type of hobby. That's how I got my start.
When is your light coming out?
So the light we're designing, where we're at right now, is we have a awesome light, and it should be pretty cheap compared to lots of other awesome lights we've sold. The problem is, right now I'm going back and forth on what kind of certifications do we want to get. So a UL rating, which is like the king rating that everyone would want. It's way more in-depth than we ever, so we originally inquired with them, and they're like, yeah, you gotta do X, Y, and Z. We're like, cool, we will do that. And now that we're like, cool, let's send the units, and let's get started. They're like, oh, plus, so you got ABC, and then like these 27 other letters of things we gotta do. One of them being that they want to inspect the factory they're made at every 3 months. So we have to get our manufacturer to agree to that. We have to have units sampled every 3 months. It basically ballooned into like, oh, this is gonna be ridiculous and change the cost of our light. So now we're looking at, well, we want to, we've run it by engineers and stuff like that, and like, this thing's amazing, blah, 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 but nothing is certified. And so we're going to go with some other certifications probably so we can keep the cost down, because like those site inspections happen forever. It's not just like, oh yeah, you inspected it, like till the end of time, and it's thousands and thousands of dollars to have it done. So our honest answer is, we think unless I really just put the screws to it, early 2023 is when we think it'll actually launch and be in your guys' hands. I will push sooner because I love making money and seeing if our thing actually works. It's always a little bit scary because people don't always think the way I do. Like, why doesn't it do this? Like, that costs $82 more. Oh, okay, I see why. They want to do all the things, but we want to keep it affordable. The good news is, I did submerge it underwater for an hour. It was fine, still running on my aquariums. You guys will see them in videos. So I'm not allowed to call them waterproof. They're highly water resistant, but if you leave them down there for a year, I'm sure it's not going to work. Like, anything that we'll use them for, they will work. And so our goal is, how do we make a really good light, super water resistant, that is wicked affordable, as opposed to like, I made the best thing, it's $800, Twin Star, where are you? Like these lights that no one can really afford, because as we saw, most people have 10 or more aquariums, and we want something that you can actually use on everything. So I hope sooner. We've got working prototypes. It's ready to print and manufacture. I just have to quit being gun shy. It's about $250,000 at this point for me to launch it. And so if it goes wrong, I don't know if I'm ever going to financially recover from this. So it's like, I really, really want to get extra certifications, like some feel-good feedback to go, okay, load up a cargo container and let's have a run at this. It also could be that you guys all hate it too. It could be perfect, and yet this doesn't work at all. What were you thinking? Which does sometimes happen. Sometimes I'm like, this is a thing. Oh, no one likes it but me. Oh my God, what have I done? So I try to avoid that. Usually if Dean signs off, Zenzo signs off. Right now we're getting into soon we might leak it to a few members, like keep it hush hush. We had some other YouTubers take a look at it. We made them sign contracts so they can't, release what we're doing, but they're signing off as well. Other people that have been known to review lights and they like it. So all signs are good, and we hope that we can keep the cost down. That's the biggest. We started designing it. When we designed it, a cargo container full of stuff cost $3,000 to ship over. Now it's somewhere between $18,000 and $25,000. Everything went up, and it's like, but we're trying to make this budget light. This is not helping the budget, and so I won't compromise quality. So that's one thing I won't do. So I have to figure out, how do we get smart? And usually it's buy more. Price goes down, buy more. Like, oh good. So $250,000 is where we're at. So we'll see. And I've also flirted with just launching just like a 2-foot or a 4-foot light, like just one size first. But I really love this light, and I want my whole store and my fish room to be full of them, and everyone else is using wants more. So I might just have to go for it. Maybe if I stop giving away 3,000 t-shirts, I'll just afford it sooner.
We had one last question, but the mic wasn't working.
All right.
How would you reseal a metal frame tank?
Oh my God, they're horrible. I've done it.
Told you.
I've done it. You basically have to take everything out, scrape all the tar out, and spend lots and lots and lots and lots of elbow grease. And here's my secret squirrel trick, all right? Which you have to be very precise with this, and when you screw it up, don't yell at me, but here is the trick. You sand the inside of the frame, and you sand all the edges where you're going to apply silicone. The silicone sticks so much better if you sand the edge where you're going to apply silicone. Now, if you're too loosey-goosey with that, guess what? You're just scratching the crap out of your aquarium. You're going to go, that looks terrible. So you mask things off, sand it a little bit, and you get a real, and obviously clean it really well using alcohol. Make sure you have a surface that is perfect to adhere and will last you the next 20 years, because you don't want to, like, it held for a year and then it sprang a leak. That's what happens when you buy them at like your local club, right? Like someone fixed it, but they kind of only fixed it enough for the water test and not for putting in your living room for the next 20 years. Yep, a little bit of sandpaper, which is counterintuitive. Let's scratch this brand new glass up, but it's like anything else. Rough up the surface before you repaint, stuff like that. Well, thank you all for showing up. Thank you for filling the seats. It shows people that maybe I'm worth having around.